So let's start with you, Nathan. Tell us about your journey.
Okay, so I left school, I think I was about 18, I got really whack A-levels, and they were not good. And I was kind of searching for what I wanted to do. I was thinking about being a PE teacher, but I was really whack at PE, so I was like, well, this ain't gonna work. Yeah, like my mum, she got me involved in yeah, she's right there, look at her, bless her, #1 fan, yes.
Hey, Mum. Where are you to? Where's Mum?
She's trying to give a little
Hello.
So she got me involved at Lyric Theatre, and they were doing loads of young theatre shows.
Yeah.
Like it's an incredible experience. You know, you work with them for 4 weeks. They give you a little bit of money, and they put you in front of like 500 people or 100 people, and you really learn so much. It's like a mini training if you don't go to drama school or you haven't trained professionally. So I did loads and loads of stuff there for like pantos and little shows and whatever.
How old were you?
I reckon I was about 18, but
Yep.
I probably started when I was about 16.
Okay.
And part of the reason I reckon my A-levels were so whack is that I literally like lived in that theatre. So I was an usher, I was watching like the same show 5 times a week, which was long, don't get me wrong, whatevs. But you know, you learn loads from it. And after one of those youth theatre shows, I got signed up to an acting agent.
Oh, wow.
And then it kind of, I didn't even know he was there. I didn't even really know it was a thing.
He was just there watching the show and came up.
Yeah, he came up afterwards, and it was like what you see in the movies. Gave me his card, and I was like, God damn! And yeah, and then just auditions and blah blah blah.
Cool. And where did you go from there? Because well, I mean, the first time, well, not the first time, but good few years ago now, you and your good buddy Stuart were making some short comedy sketches.
Yep.
You wanted to show some here, and we did that. Perhaps tell us a bit about that.
So I stayed so long at the Lyric, they were trying like basically finding things for me to do. Otherwise, like I was just there. So they gave me a role as a young artistic associate, which is a really fancy role. I didn't do that much, but I learned a lot. Basically, just to get paid to sit in their office, read scripts before they put them on the stage. And they brought us on like a road trip to the BFI. I didn't even know what this building was. I was like, it's pretty cool. They got cinemas and that. And I came in, and I had a little comedy group at this time, and we were called Boxed In, and like we made really rude comedy, which I still do now. And I was like, can I have a coffee with you? And I was like, look, can me and my friends put some sketches on in your cinema? And you were like, yeah, all right. And I was like, what? Okay, that's a challenge. So we went out with our like really weird DSLR cameras and made some funny stuff, we think. we came here, you guys put us on a screening. I had a friend in the BBC Slink. I made one sketch, This Is the Truth, and I sent it to her, and she liked it, she invited us in, and then she was like, we want to make 3 sketches that you guys have written, so we were blown away then. So Stuart and I wrote these sketches, we went in, they commissioned them and sent, and I was doing a show at the time, so Stuart turned up day one of the shoot, he was like, oh, I'm going to direct it, and there was a full BBC crew.
Wow. And
we had gone from like my mate Moses and a camera to him directing a full BBC crew, and he calls me on my lunch break and he's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, what do I do? I think it's just like the runner's telling me when to say cut and action or whatever. So basically, like we jumped straight in, and like we did blag it very, very hard. Like we blagged, but I think we blagged and learned, then blagged and learned. I'm still blagging and still learning.
Cool. Just going back to you said you knew someone in the BBC.
Yeah.
How did you come to know somebody in the BBC? Was that just like coincidence, or?
I think it was just like
it was. Did you engineer it in any way?
I mean, I'd love to say I engineered it, but I don't know if I did. I think I may have even met them in like a bar or something like that.
All right.
I don't know, but I knew that.
Either way, you're making the most of the opportunity.
Yeah, and also like if you don't know, you should know that everyone at the BBC is first name dot second name at bbc.co.uk. They will probably blank your emails, but give it a try, innit? Do you know what I mean? You don't know, and I have actually hooked up with producers who I've done that with, and even got commission off it, so that was kind of crazy.
So tell us a little bit about Rastamouse.
Cool.
And how you got that gig.
So I created my own cartoon called Afro Kid, which I'm still working on now, which is about a boy who has an afro and wants to save his community, and he has afro superpowers. And I was working on that for about 4 or 5 years, And people were like, oh, no, like, we don't make that. Well, I don't think we make any diverse animation in the UK. And the only show was Rasta Mouse, and that got slated loads. So I did that thing which I was saying to do with people from the BBC, which was I found the production company, Three Stones Media, and I just sent them an email. I knew no one there. I had nothing. I sent a really long email. Try not to send long emails because they're long and no one wants to read that. And I was basically like, hey, can I just come in for a coffee and talk to you about my idea? Literally, they got back 5 minutes later being like, yeah, come in on Tuesday. And I emailed on a Monday. I went in. I printed off. By this time, I'd culminated like a 40-page like production bible of my cartoon idea. I commissioned artists. I'd made music videos. I'd just sat with TV producers asking them what a treatment was. And like, don't get me wrong, it was riddled with spelling mistakes and like awful things like that. But who cares? And we sat down with him, and he was a bit shocked that I turned up to a meeting with a bible. Like, who does that, man? Do you know what I mean? It was only meant to be for a coffee. Anyway, he flicked through it. And he was like, well, do you want to write for Rasta Mouse? That was it. It was just a one question. I was like, yes, forget this. But lucky enough, he didn't want to forget it, and he optioned my cartoon. So we've been working on that for about a year, and we had some bad news this week. Then we also had some good news this week. So it's ups and downs, which is what I've learned. So I wrote 2 episodes of the new series, which is out now.
So you've written a few episodes of that. Are you still on board?
If they do another series, that's still happening. But what's really cool with Three Stones Media, which I would advise you to go check out, is that people come to them for diverse writers, because they've done 109 episodes of Rasta Mouse when people thought they were never going to do one. Like, they never thought a series was going to happen. They went through hell to get it to happen. So the BBC came to Greg from Three Stones and said, we need to meet some diverse writers, as they do all the time. And they picked up me and Mawan, and we've written another show called Swashbuckle for them, and hopefully that relationship carries on, because what they're doing is really, really, really great, an amazing opportunity. Yeah, that's kind of...
And what's, obviously you act and you write.
Yeah.
Do you have... Is there one thing that you prefer to do?
No, I have no preference. I just basically want to work. So it's like, if I'm not being paid to act, I better write something. And if I'm not being paid to write, beg someone employs me to act. So, but obviously, before anyone pays you to write, you have to have written quite a lot. Do you know what I mean? So unless you're super lucky and you've written that one, like, Spielberg script, do you know what I mean? I don't know. But I'd done loads of short plays. I'd written, like... Yeah. My mum's always like, oh, you should make a little book of your short plays. I was like, who's buying it but you, mum? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's only you who's going to buy this book. But yeah, so I don't, and maybe you. I'll sign it for you both. So I'd written loads of stuff, and then my acting agent and my writing agent are in the same building. So
how did you get your agents?
My acting one through the show at the Lyric, which was off the cuff. Obviously, if you're an actor, it's not always as lucky if you're not in a show. It can be hell trying to get an agent. I've got loads of mates who are the most talented human beings ever. I think what my advice to you would be was find directors like these guys and be like, hey, I'll work for free. Please put me in your short film, and build up a collection of really great work. Then send it out to agents, because they get headshots for days. Like, it doesn't matter how beautiful you are or how striking your blue eyes are. Do you know what I mean? They want to see you act, and if you've got a great monologue or you're in one of these guys' films, that's already saying, oh, it looks professional. So that, and then obviously the boring cover letter, CV, blah blah blah. Google it, and it's long.
But the thing is, with you, you're always busy, right? Like, so even when you're so in between being in Benidorm and shooting a TV show for ITV, you're writing stuff, you're making your own short
I'm writing
films,
when I'm out
sketches.
there. When I'm out there, I'm still writing. So my days off are sometimes on a beach with a beer, but then also sometimes I've got a writing deadline which I need to make sure I do. Because I think I'm never bored. I don't know what bored is. Bored is long. No. There's always something to do. So it's trying to keep yourself busy, as you guys must do all the time, and just work. It's actually fun. It's not really work. There's labouring things to do. This isn't that labouring. Do you know what I mean?
Cool. All right, lovely. Thanks, Nathan. We'll talk to Rob now quickly, and perhaps you can just tell us a bit about your career today.
Yeah, sure. got to warn you in advance. I wrapped on a 5-day shoot yesterday, and I'm completely frazzled today. So if like I zone out, just wave your hand in front of my face until I respond.
Splash water.
Yeah. So for me, I grew up in Shrewsbury, which is kind of in the arse end of nowhere. It's kind of like the final frontier before Wales, with no film culture at all. But I always wanted to be a filmmaker, pretty much. And I was making films with my friends and kind of tomato ketchup blood and that kind of thing. And then it was, after my A-levels, I had this big long summer before I was going to uni, and I had a bit of money saved up, essentially to get drunk at uni. And I was like, I can either have a miserable couple of months at uni and use that money to make a feature, or I can go and get drunk. And in the end, the feature won out. The idea was that I wanted to go to university, which I kind of went to I kind of half went to university as a ploy to get closer to London. But I wanted to come to London with a thing that showed that I could do it. And it was always features for me. And nobody told me really that I couldn't just go straight ahead and make one. So I made this film Strings on $3,000, and that's what got me my agent. So when I moved to London, I was already in a position to start working.
Yeah, and you were only 17, right, when you started making Strings, which is incredible.
I tell you what, a lot of Strings was written on the fly, because I was trying to Strings is basically about it's about two couples, two groups of friends. One of which are at the start of the relationship where everything's great and you think it's going to last forever and you're going to go to university and going to make the distance work, that kind of thing, all the kind of optimism and idealism. And then the other couple is right at the end of that, like they're 2 years later when you just can't stand the person's face, that kind of thing. So and I was at that stage at the time with my girlfriend, and Strings was the last straw. So a lot of what was going on behind the scenes kind of wormed its way into the script, and there was a lot of kind of improvising and rewriting and that kind of thing, which she wasn't too hot on. But
well, I mean, it's a great film, and really ballsy just to decide to make a feature film at that age, and and putting what little money you've got behind it.
I mean,
it's still quite a whack.
The thing for me is like, I was a stupid teenager. I could make a feature. And if it was terrible, I could just pretend that it never happened. And then the other route of going to London and renting a tiny little box room and being a runner and working up that way, that was still available to me. So I thought I had nothing to lose really by going and making a feature, just to show that I could tell a story over 90 minutes and hopefully just bump me up into those meetings that nobody would give me if I was to just come with a couple of short films or with nothing much else. There's a kind of there's this kind of thing that I found in the industry, is that you don't get the opportunity to make something unless you've already got an example of something pretty similar. So for me, it's always been features, it's always been long form storytelling. So I'd made a couple of shorts, I just shot them on handy cams and that kind of stuff with my mates. But it was always features, so I wanted to come with a feature so that I could start pitching on more straight away.
And it's done exceptionally well as well, hasn't it? You won a BFI award for a British Independent Film Award, and it's been shown at festivals all over the world.
Yeah.
What do you think are the things that have enabled it to be so successful?
Well, I mean, Strings is basically just people lounging around, chatting and having sex. It's not like it's not a very high concept movie. So the thing, and that's not the kind of movie that I want to go on to make. I want to make thrillers and horrors and more genre stuff. And really, like, what I'd recommend if anyone's mad enough to go out and make a feature, try and find a really cool high concept or do something that's kind of a template for what you want to go on to do. And Strings was just like, because we had $3,000, it was just what have we got access to? We've got we've got some rooms. Let's put some people in them and have them talk, and that was kind of it. So that we didn't have that high concept hook that it normally helps these kind of low budget films. So what we found is that our hook was that we're young, that I was 17 and it was about 17-year-olds, and it became that film. So when people were talking about it at festivals, it's like, oh, you're going to see that film by the young filmmaker, who did it for absolutely no money. And that kind of became our hook, and that was what people were talking about. So we kind of found an angle on it early enough to get people talking about it and get some kind of buzz about it going.
Cool. And I mean, we'll come on to like the talk to you a bit more about the features that you're developing at the moment. But so ironically, since then, the outputs that you've been making have been more short form content, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this was the thing. Like Strings was doing well, and it got bought by Vertigo Films, and that was all doing fine. But all my other scripts were sci-fi, or they were horror. They were genre stuff. And again, it's the same thing. I can have a British Independent Film Award-winning feature, and still not get those deals on sci-fi films, because I haven't done a sci-fi, because those people don't have the imagination. So, well, I mean, who can blame them? So what I did is I decided to go out and make a bunch of short films that kind of spanned all the genres that I'd love to work in features on. So the first one was this. You guys know the 48-hour sci-fi competition that Film London run? I mean, you should all do it. It really, like, for me, it really helped me kind of learn to trust my gut instinct, because you just don't have the time to faff around like you do if it was a normal short. You've got to deliver a film in 2 days. And we came up with this neat little sci-fi concept, and we delivered this film, and we won the BFI Future Film Award that year, because BFI was sponsoring it. That's how I met Noel. But from there, I had a feature and I had a sci-fi short film, and people in those meetings could kind of put 2 and 2 together and be like, oh, you can make a feature, you can make sci-fi, maybe you can make a sci-fi feature. Yeah. So, and from there, I've had my sci-fi treatments bought. I've just literally, I woke up this morning and found out that a sci-fi horror script that's at Cannes at the moment just got funded, so that should be my next feature. But yeah, which is good news.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you. But it's all because I had those. I made these little short films to show, to kind of set a template for what I wanted to go on and do. Yeah. And in fact, this short film that I've just finished this week is a little short film version of a feature that I'm pitching at the moment, so people can see the short film and they can kind of imagine how it would expand into a lucrative feature for them. So it was the same. It was the same thing again. Like I wanted to get into commercials because I wanted to be able to live and eat. So I so I emailed, I pestered a bunch of commercials agents, I had a bunch of meetings, and it was the same thing. It's like, have you done any commercials? Is there anything you can show us? I'm like, no, but I've got a feature film, and they couldn't be less interested. So so what I decided to do is just contact a bunch of bands that I really loved, some kind of indie bands, and asked them if they wanted to, if they had any money to make some music videos, and they did, and it wasn't much money, but we kind of took a look at the budgets we had and tried to figure out what's the prettiest, coolest, most commercial-like thing we can do with this money. Yep. So I did a little handful of music videos, and then I took those back to the commercials agent, and they're like, look, I can do short and pretty. And so I got some offers from some of them. And actually, the agent that I signed with, Outsider, I emailed them 3 times without getting a response. And on the third pester, they were like, "Oh, sorry, we've just checked this. Can you come in for a meeting this afternoon?" I came for a meeting later that afternoon, and then by the end of the day, I was signed to them. Brilliant. So you should, I mean, maybe don't pester quite so much as that, but there's a lot to persevere rather than pester, maybe. Yeah.
And just quickly before we talk to Will, so what did you go on to do? Was it Barclaycard advert you went on to do after?
Yeah. So I did a Barclays advert last year, which was nice, and that paid my rent for this year, so I can fuck around with the little short film bits that I've been doing, and then this script commission for the one that's just been sold at Cannes. It's pretty much been my year so far.
Great, good stuff. Excellent work. Mr. William McGregor, thanks for joining us. Good to see you back in the big city after spending a few months in Cornwall. Tell us about your filmmaking career to date.
The problem with going last is that you're going to say what everyone else has already said. I don't know, maybe draw the parallels and see them as a good thing. But to echo Rob, I started just making short films with handycams, kind of stuff that some people never see, kind of small, showed at a few sort of young people film festivals.
What kind of thing? You say that there's sort of things that you don't normally see. So
as in like that no one will have seen the work because
Oh,
you
I
just
see.
do it
Right.
and you're learning. And like I did one called Piglet Tales, which was kind of my first film that showed at the Cooperative Young Filmmakers Festival, but it was literally just me working out. It was almost documentary cut into fiction, and then just sort of learnt that way. And that was kind of at college. I was probably 16 when I started to kind of mess around and realise actually you could make a film as a job.
Yeah.
And then I went to uni, did an arts degree, University of Creative Arts in Farnham. This was a foundation course, and I sort of knew that in order to stand out as a filmmaker, having gone to festivals and seen shorts, that I had to make something a bit different, and also that, as Rob said, would be in tune with my taste and show what I want to do. So I had a mate who was from Slovenia, and none of us really knew what we were doing, but we were just a bit like, you're from Slovenia, and that would be a cool place to shoot a film, and kind of that would be the hook, plus a genre angle that I wanted to do. So the landscape there kind of became my hook, and the fantasy side of it became my hook. So we just headed out to Slovenia and made this short film, not really knowing what we were doing, but pulling it together. I didn't really know what a first AD was or any of this, so we kind of made it up as we went along. But fortunately, through that naivety, made a film that did quite well, won the Royal Television Society Award, the Student Award, screened at a lot of festivals, won a lot of awards, and that was the thing that got me an agent, was this short film. It's like the more you learn, the less you know.
Right.
And like as an 18-year-old just doing it, you kind of, there's a naivety to it that you kind of want to try and keep hold of. It's actually all the faff that surrounds it, the logistical stuff. And I mean, it just didn't, for example, driving home, we ran out of money, couldn't afford to stay anywhere, so we ended up sleeping on tarpaulin and a German lay-by, that kind of thing. So we were winging it. Definitely a lot of blagging going on.
But as Rob was saying as well, it's like that trusting your instinct and just going with it, right?
Absolutely. And obviously, you know, it's great because you start to get a bit of attention for a certain film, but basically what people want is they want to know the next guy who's going to do something cool.
Yeah.
But they've got you in their net, but there's not necessarily anything they're really doing with you. They just want to, they've got tabs on you. You're electronically tagged by these people and tracked, but you're sat there going, well, I'm not going to go any further unless one of you actually starts, you know, doing something proactive.
Yeah.
But there was a producer called Hilary Bevan-Jones who saw it, and I've spent the last 4 to 5 years developing a film with her, but that's kind of been alongside everything else. It's sort of going along whilst doing everything else. But obviously it's quite kind of dark, gothic, fairy tale, and I made a few more short films that screened at Berlinale and some other festivals whilst I was at uni. I had 3 years at uni. But what I did when I left uni, as Rob was saying, I discovered that I had to pay rent and there were no student loans, and I had student loans to pay off. So I took all the kind of little corporates I might have been doing whilst at uni and little promos and the short films I did, and sort of packaged them into this like 50 seconds commercial edit. It basically just said, this is showy and he could do commercials.
Yeah.
Which didn't get me commercials. It got me sort of commercials. So I sent it out again, did the whole guesstimate email addresses thing, built a whole like database of like email addresses for all kinds of production companies, from the big ones to the small ones. And it was one of the small ones who got back to me, got in touch, went in for a meeting, and they were called Shoot Group, who then became Hollister and now part of Unit 9, but they were quite small. And for them I did book trailers, so basically they give you $2,000, you take $1,000 to try and live off, and then you make the book trailer. But then what I was doing is I was able to experiment and make new things, and have these more work that said I could do commercials, while still developing the feature film, and also doing a sci-fi London alongside Rob. And again, that was sort of intentionally engineered to try and get some work. So it was intentionally sci-fi and commercial, and that plus the book trailers plus the short films and everything else kind of came together, and that little edit I made to be approached by The Mill, who are a visual effects company who have their own production arm called Mill Plus. And I joined them end of 2010 and sort of have been building up, making bigger and bigger commercials with them until about 2013 when I started to do more TV drama. And that started with like a online web series to win a trip to space for some tech company that I can barely remember the name of, up to doing Italian fashion brand commercial for Italian TV, to car commercials for Ford, Super Bowl commercials, computer game trailers, and made quite a lot with them until I started doing drama, and then obviously because I've been in drama I've kind of stopped the commercials so much. But it's funny, each step helps you to get to the next step. So the commercials plus the shorts then gets to the drama. We get to think about commercials, you get to learn how to do different things. So you get to play with Epic, and you get to learn how to do that kind of things, which leads you. It is as simple as Rob said. You have to kind of prove that you can do something before you get to do it.
Yeah.
And how do you engineer that? And the truth is, it's cynically you do have to engineer it. So you do have to be really
strategic.
Flipping
thinking
too far.
Yeah.
I was going to swear then. Probably could have sworn. You just have to really think about it and really make sure that you're being tactical and that you're cutting the little even manipulate your work to look like something else in order to get to a company to start doing a commercial that isn't the kind of commercial you want to do, to prove that these things amalgamated you could then make this type of commercial, and then this helped to get, plus the short film work, to get Misfits. And obviously if you're commissioning Poldark and you see you've done Misfits, and definitely I'll be up against more experienced directors. I'm probably the youngest and cheapest option there. The cheapest bit might have helped.
But they also, everyone's hungry for new talent.
Yeah, people are looking. This is the thing, guys. People are looking for the new talent. You just have to convince people you are that, and that doesn't mean walking in with a beret and a scarf. It means like even your Twitter feed.
That's
and
where I've been going wrong with this.
I meant to bring mine today. Like even your Twitter feed or your Facebook. I remember after Berlinale with a short film called Bovine, which I made 2 years after Water Sprite, but I don't like as much. But it's one of those weird things, but it did do well. And maybe I was over strategic with that and thought, I go to these festivals and the weird films with not a lot of story about the kid being upset about the cow does well, so I did that. And in my own way, it was set on a farm and I grew up on a farm, so in my own way, but I kind of strayed too far from what it was I wanted to do. But the thing that came from it is I met one of the commissioning execs at the BFI and added her on Facebook, and probably through that she would have sort of seen more of my work, and that's why the feature film's there. So even things like that are quite important.
And how exactly did you get Misfits? How did that? Did you take that step from commercials?
My agent who'd signed me on Water Sprite, off of Water Sprite, had sent me in for a couple of meetings for stuff like Skins, but I didn't get it. But it was a good education in meetings. So by the time I went for the Misfits meeting, I was a bit all ready for it. Plus, I was a massive Misfits fan.
Cool.
It was season 5, and I've been watching it since season 1. So I just went in with I just sort of talked about the show. And the Clerkenwell Films are one of those companies that will take risks on people. The first season, Tom Green and Tom Harper hadn't done TV before, so they took risks. So you kind of have to look for those kind of people who are going to take a chance. And then, I learnt a lot doing Misfits, which was good because it was season 5. It was quite a steady ship. They knew what they were doing. I could step on and didn't have to deal with all the drama. I just sort of learnt how to be a TV director, which is very different. It's more like 48-hour film challenges than it is.
In what way?
In commercials, you shoot about 30 seconds a day, and then in drama, you're doing 5 minutes a day. So it's like being responsive, being quick, trusting your gut, all of that. I mean, you pace yourself. At the end of 48-hour film challenge, you feel like you're about to die. It's very much more about pacing yourself. So it's a different experience. And then after Misfits, I wanted to be selective with the drama I did, because it's not you didn't write it, but it does become part of your identity, and people look at your IMDb and they see what you've done. And then Poldark came along, and the gamble I have is, and I had on Misfits, it's established. I know I love it. I want in. Poldark, who knows what it's going to be like? Fortunately, it did turn out really well, and
amazingly well. What the viewing figures you were telling me earlier?
I think the first episode had 8 million plus 2 on catch up, and by the end we'd only dropped to 7 million in total, which is for TV unreal. I mean, Indian Summers started with 2 million, ended up with 300,000. Mm-hmm. So it was hugely successful. It's one of those things as well of it's a melodrama. It's a Sunday night thing. It's sort of for the mums a bit, but I love
got that sexy looking guy that everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I know. So I love period drama, and I wanted to make something in that vein. It's as close to the fantastical as I could get on TV. And you embrace it, but you're fully aware that it's not your show, it's someone else's, and you're trying to embody it and put your thumbprint in there as much as you can. But definitely from the first time I picked up a Handycam and made Piglet Tales to the commercials, each of them were like baby steps, but they all gave me the knowledge to, it all added up. So the time I got to Poldark, I wasn't like too afraid. I was nervous, but I sort of learned enough to get going really. But hopefully now with the next thing I'm doing, I'm kicking off. It's a mini series for BBC that I've got off the back of this, where I get to start it. So
cool.
So if it's not good, it's it's my fault. But the opportunity,
you're embracing that challenge,
kick something off. You're always looking to opportunity to do your own thing and to be able to tell a story you'd like in a way that you'd like to tell it. And I kind of feel like I've been working up to this point. Yeah. It's TV drama. It's the writer's world, the writer's king. But I feel like it's going to be the first opportunity since short films, so maybe like 4 years ago, that I've had to actually start something in the way I'd like to do it.
When will we see this? When this?
Well, I don't start shooting till August, so it's going to be a while.
Mm-hmm.
And alongside that, still working on the film, and hopefully after this, the Misfits leads to Poldark, Poldark leads to the mini-series, the mini-series leads to the film, would be how I think it would go, hopefully.
Cool.
It
seems to be heading in the right direction at the moment, so well done, congratulations.